Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump and today I'll be reviewing Persona 5 Strikers, which was released back on the 20th of February in 2020 and was released for PC, PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Now, the main plot of this game is that a few months after the events of Persona 5, the Phantom Thieves meet up and basically plan their summer vacation. However, behind the scenes there have been several change of heart incidents that were similar to the events that happened during Persona 5, and it's up to the Phantom Thieves to figure out who's behind this and find some new palaces, or in this game's case, jails. Now, this plot I think is quite interesting because it feels, even though it's like a similar story to Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, it's sort of fresh in a way, because within the context of the game, the only kind of connection to the Change of Hearts is through an app called Emma, and it hasn't, and the Change of Hearts have only been occurring since the app was launched. And I think that's an interesting way to set up the plot, because it's not just, oh, you're just doing the Changes of Hearts because you have to, it's just because, oh, there's some kind of connection between them and this mysterious app that's somehow making all these Changes of Hearts. And that's quite interesting. And the gameplay itself is basically that of Hyrule Warriors or Dynasty Warriors, in that you basically beat up a bunch of enemies, and yeah, that's basically it. And I think everything that's in the game is quite interesting and quite cool, because it's kind of like how Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 work in a way, in which with Mario Galaxy 1 it was something new, nothing quite done before, because it shows Mario in space and shows kind of like the physics of how Mario can interact with the different planets and stuff. Whereas with Galaxy 2, it was a lot of the same. It felt like you were continuing playing the original Galaxy 1, and it kind of feels like that with Persona 5 Strikers, because even though it's a sort of sequel to Persona 5, it still feels fresh and new, and it feels like you're still continuing the main story from Persona 5. And it depends, and if you've played Persona 5 Royal, it doesn't really matter if you've played through the entirety of the game, including the semester. You will still have some ideas of what's going on. The only downside to, if you've played Persona 5 Royal, is that both Maruki and Kasumi aren't mentioned, because this is mainly a sequel to the original Persona 5, and so that's why those two characters aren't really a part of the main game. And now it's time for some gameplay. Now, before you enter the jail to steal the treasure, you can do several things first. So one thing is that you can change your party. So you can basically change your party around to whoever you want. So let's keep the party I have at the moment. One thing you can also do is go to the Velvet Room, which, like in Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 and every other Persona game in the series, you can basically fuse personas. If you have like 2 or more personas, depending on how, I think, depending on which game you have, depending on what kind of fusion persona base you have, you can fuse 2 or more personas. And you can also view the compendium as well to see which personas you have and like what level they are and how you can buy them. So far I can't really buy any personas at the moment. You can also fuse them or enhance them, which I think is quite cool, because you can basically just fuse as many personas as you have in terms of power points. So for Pixie, I can only level it up 2 levels. So let's go with that. Okay. And now Pixie has a new skill, which is Null Sleep, which is this one right here. which I think is quite nice. But also for when it comes to fusing personas or making them higher levels, you do have to keep a level of where their PP is, so which is here where your level is. So make sure when you're leveling up your personas, do keep an eye on that. So yeah, that's been it for the Velvet Room. Now I'm going to quickly show you how the gameplay is of how you go through the jail. Now you can find these things called checkpoints, which can basically just make you go to a specific part of the jail, which kind of acts like this game's version of safe rooms, where in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, where in those games, whenever you found one, you could go back to the beginning of the particular palace that you're at. So let's just go with where the question mark is at the moment, which is the Miami Park, I think. And the loading times do feel like a bit long. And I think this is quite cool. Like the whole palace jail thing, because they feel a lot different than regular palaces. Because with the palaces, it was just going from one place to one place to one place to one place, and then finally to the final boss of that particular palace. And then, but with jails, I feel like they're a lot more fun, kind of, because of how you can fight the shadows. And just like in palaces in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, there are certain blockages in which you can't get across, that you will have to get through. But unlike Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, you don't have to go back to reality if you want to get past, I think, because so far that's how far I've gotten so far, from what I know. And yeah, now, I do like how at the beginning of the game you do get the Phantom Thieves. It's not just in this particular jail you get these particular members, and the next one you get one or two more members, and then the next one you get more, and then you get all of them towards the end. I do like how you get all your members at once. That's quite cool. And I think that's quite nice. And then that's quite cool. And now just like in other Dynasty Warrior type games, and you can basically just attack a variety of enemies. You think it's quite nice, and just like in Persona 5, you can switch between your team members, so which is quite cool. And then you can get you do get a Baton Pass, which is quite nice, because you can just get your attack up higher. And now let's just do Yusuke and attack. So yeah, so just like in Persona 5, it basically just gives the whole thing. Oh, Phantom Striker trophy, nice. So yeah, so just like in Persona 5, it just has a lot of the elements that can be seen in Persona 5. So like the Baton Pass, Joker switching between his personas, which is quite nice, right? And there's a lot of other things, and obviously having that Dynasty Warriors type feel, and using the whole Dynasty Warriors gameplay system to his advantage, which I think is quite cool. So let's switch to Arsenia. So yeah, I think it's quite nice, and I think it's really quite fun. But I think with where Persona 5 Royal are slightly better is that I think you do keep a lot more SP and HP, depending on how you're fighting the enemies. Because with this, you can attack personas with shadows with SP and HP. But with I think you get you waste more in this gaming, I would say, than you would do in like the original games. So yeah, I would say if you're going to a jail, make sure to use your SP and HP more wisely, and then like in other battles and matches you have in Persona 5 and Royal, you will get XP and get SP and XP and money as well, which I think is quite nice. So yeah.
Sure Oracle's as prepared as possible from here on out.
So yeah, and also I'm going to quickly go to the checkpoint again, because as you can see, my Joker and Fox, Mona, and Oracle have lost some HP and SP. So let's go back to the jail. And what I like to say, what I like about this version about Persona 5 Strikers over the over Persona 5 and Royal is that you won't waste an in-game day, which I think is quite nice, because if you've played either Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, after you've beaten a palace or beaten a part of Mementos, you will lose like a day in game, and then you have to wait until the next day until you can go back to Mementos or a palace again. But with Persona 5 Strikers, you can just go back in whenever your team is low on HP or SP, and then you can just go back to the hideout and just regroup, and you can just get your HP and SP refilled. Now, you can also use the shop, which is a feature you can do in the game, and you can just basically sell any of the stuff that you've got on your person. So, for example, with this, the dirty phone case, that can be sold for quite a lot if you have enough of that. So let's go with that. And then you can buy items, accessories, protectors, and weapons. And then you can just buy, and then let's just go with bandage, and then let's just go with 2. And then you can use them for the jails. So that's been it for the gameplay. Now it's time to go back to the review. So earlier in this review I mentioned jails. Now that they are this game's version of palaces, in which you go around and just beat up shadows, beat the main boss, change the heart of the main ruler, and then move on to the next one. And the main difference between jails and palaces is that every time you beat a monarch, which are the leaders of the jails, they don't disappear. And unlike palaces that you went through in Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, they always disappeared, and the only kind of main palace that kind of remained or stayed where it was Mementos, which was your typical grinding section in Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. And it's kind of the same with jails in terms of the whole Mementos grinding thing, and I think that's really cool, and how kind of like the game's way of saying, okay, here's some stuff you can do, like doing requests, leveling up, replaying boss fights and stuff like that. And I think the jails are quite interesting because they're all based on the rulers or the monarchs, and I quite like how each palace, each ruler or each jail has some slight connection to one of the members of the Phantom Thieves. For example, with the very first jail, it's based on a sort of pop idol character, and that relates to Ann very well because she is kind of she's kind of like having in the same boat in a way, and it was Ann being a model and stuff like that. And then with the second palace, that's more with Yusuke because the monarch of that jail is about creating art and stuff like that, but in the form of a book. And with Yusuke, with him making his own paintings and stuff, I think that's really cool to see how each jail relies something to one of the main Phantom Thieves, and I think that's an interesting way to help characterize more of like the Phantom Thieves, because like I think, you know, throughout the course of the games we were given some characterizations with each of the characters that we saw, but I think with the added characterizations in Persona 5 Strikers, I feel like that's really cool and interesting, because we get to see more of what they're thinking, what they're feeling whenever they come across a particular monarch. And yeah, overall I would say Persona 5 Strikers is an interesting way of continuing a particular story and having us just see more of the lives of these characters, and I think it's a really fun, enjoyable time, and I really suggest you go play this game when you have the time. So that's been my review for Persona 5 Strikers. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.